kind of, I don't know if you can see the Zoom screen. I'm kind of struggling with it right now, but
Yeah,
from the
we
presentation.
can see the screen.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to see because I have the Zoom toolbar kind of in the way of the presentation. I didn't know if that was for you as well. Uh, so a little bit about myself. For those who don't know me, I am Danielle C. Baker. I am a registered early childhood educator. I have over 20 years experience in the field of early childhood development and in schools as well. And I am an author. I just had a new book. You'll see it in the background. There's the poster there is bringing up the world. So it does kind of touch on the responsibility that we all have on the impact that we have on children and how they're going to lead the world later on. Um, my first love was science. So I do have a degree in physics, and then I transitioned over to teaching. And I have a podcast and a TV show here in Ottawa as well. So it keeps me rather busy. Now, a lot of people wonder, how do I get into these kind of topics when I'm with children under 6 years old? And so my experience does span up until early adulthood. And I also work with seniors. So everything that we teach little ones is transferable to any age group. And this is why I really enjoy working with the youth. They have a lot to teach us, and this is what I like about working with them. So today's presentation is briefly, we're going to be going over what the current leadership and governance looks like now. I am generalizing. Of course, this planet is quite big. Everybody has different structures, but we'll kind of go over what that is and the challenges that we're facing with this more traditional form of leadership. And of course, true to myself, I am going to put you to work. I don't believe in just sitting in a lecture or a presentation and not putting things into action right away, because just listening and not doing anything is not going to get us anywhere. So I will get you to work a little bit this evening. I will talk about the key challenges that the new leaders will be facing, and have a look at how innovation and entrepreneurship kind of makes sense now to pivot towards that as a form of leadership. And I will give you some examples of what that can look like for our nations, and why it's so important now more than ever to make that pivot, and how we can prepare our youth for that. And of course, again, putting it into practice. When you leave the lecture this evening, you'll have enough to be able to bring that back to your youth programs or other venues within the community, where you can help kind of mentor our youth into getting them prepared. So of course, like I said, true to myself, uh, knowledge without action is irrelevant, really. So this is what I advocate for, is when we're into personal development and professional development, if we're not going to put what we're learning into action, we've just kind of wasted our time. So my intention here today is to help you and give you some tools and resources or insight on the current topics, but kind of set yourself a goal of what it is that you're looking to achieve from this, or the information that you will be getting from this evening, and take immediate action, put it into practice within the first day. I would say within the first day. So it doesn't just sit, your notes don't just sit in a pile somewhere collecting dust. And this is why I incorporate action into my presentation. So I'm already helping you with that step. And then just kind of keep going back to it and see if you've achieved the goals that you had set for yourself. And this is also very important, those 3 steps to teach uh, your students or your groups, because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead other people. And so by doing this for yourself and then teaching people to set those goals, then we can actually put that knowledge into action and get better results. So we'll jump right in. A very important thing, because we talk about a leadership, this is a very, very important topic globally, but not a lot of people actually understand the definition of leadership. So in today's world, what does that leadership mean to you? So if you feel inspired to do so, you can share in the comments if you're able to share in the comments. If not, that's okay, but start really kind of reflecting on that. What does leadership mean to you today? Not 10 years ago, when we had a different picture of what leadership would look like, and especially on the national level. But to start reflecting on that and say, okay, as of today, What does that leadership look like for me, and which way should it go? And also encourage your students, your children, the young adults in your community to start having these discussions. They do talk, they hear the word leadership all the time, but are they actually understanding the true meaning of it? And there's no wrong answer. Everybody has their own definition of leadership depending on their reality. And this is why it's important to open up these conversations to realize that we can make an impact on leadership, but also respect other people's versions of leadership. As long as we're not harming anybody, then the leadership is fine. So we'll have a look in the first part of this presentation. I've kept it very general because there's so many different structures of leadership in different nations. But traditionally, leadership models will have the governance structure, which is the presidents. Over here, we have a prime minister. We have parliaments, so you have your traditional government structures. In decision making, of course, you have your hierarchy, your political influences, your policies, your laws, and historically, how leadership was maintained was through counsel from the elders, from experience, and again from hierarchy. So usually in the traditional leadership model, you're working from the top and trickling down. You have somebody who makes decisions and then passes it down to everybody else. The current state of leadership, again, general, it's not necessarily the case in every nation, but generally, this type of leadership can lead to stability, kind of keeps us current into uh, situations that we may be facing. The democracy, of course, natural resources, we do have access to this and we can make it a sustainable source of economic growth. And of course, there's economic growth potential. We're always looking for that. But some of the challenges right now is youth unemployment. So we're pushing to have strong future world leaders, but they're not ready for the world. They're not ready for the workplace. And if they are ready, it's very hard for them to find jobs. So it's of course, also corruption. We hear of this continuously, the slow technology. Sorry, I'm struggling with my English today, but slow advancements in technology. And many countries still are dependent on other people. So there are many countries out there that are still not self-sufficient, or that the structure is done up in a way that they cannot be self-sufficient. We'll talk on that a little bit later. We are experiencing that right now here in Canada in terms of what happens when the neighbors start changing things around, and how can we become sustainable when we've been working with international trades for so long. And so that leads to the question of asking your or your youth, asking young adults what their thoughts are on leadership today, and giving them time to answer. Are they afraid to answer? A lot of the times that could be it. Or maybe they just have no thoughts at all because they really don't understand what is happening, especially since the youth now is evolving rather quickly. Uh, they may not actually understand the old traditional ways of leading a country, or leading a city, or leading a school, depending on where you're sitting in your leadership. So it is very important to ask the youth what their thoughts are on today's leadership, because they have some very interesting insight on what may be outdated and what needs to be changed. And we do need to have that change, because whatever doesn't evolve dies. So we need to be flexible and be able to move forward with a better plan. So in order to be able to kind of, I don't want to say create, but I would say just kind of give an opportunity to have these strong future world leaders. We need to be able to get their thoughts on their realities right now, because they're not living today's world the way that we are. Uh, so when we're looking at the role of leadership, or the new role of leadership with this fast changing world, there's quite a few different ways of looking at it. But I've given the four major points that we're dealing with now and that most countries are dealing with. Now we're talking about globalization. So leaders now not only influence their nation, they're influencing the entire world. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the experiences that we have here in Canada right now with our neighbors to the south that have a new leader. And this new leader is spilling his agenda over the borders. So how do we handle that as a nation when it's we didn't have a say or a vote in that country, but now we're being affected by it. And it's the same for the other neighbors further down south. So this is a reality everywhere. Is how do we keep our neighbors off our lawn in a diplomatic way? So we need to be able to prepare our youth for that and how to handle it without conflict or violence. Climate change is a big there's a lot of debates on that. It is a real thing, and we are depleting our natural resources rather quickly. So leaders today need to find more sustainable ways to keep the economy going. When we run out of oil, what do we do? You know, when we run out of other minerals and natural resources, what do we do? So we need to be more innovative. We need to start thinking ahead. And what do we do if we no longer have our resources? Technology and AI has been evolving way too fast. If you even look at 100 years ago and what that looked like versus today, and now with AI, there's this transformation that is definitely going to have an impact on our economies. And so it's important for the leaders, or new leaders, to be able to navigate that and to be able to regulate that and control that to protect their people. And then, of course, the economic inequalities. So with democracy, we're trying to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. But now, more than ever, I think that that gap is increasing exponentially. So they need to find solutions to bridge that gap as well. Now we're looking at their actual realities. We're kind of expecting them to do all this, right? So we're kind of throwing it on them to say, you fix this because we don't know what to do with this anymore. But there's some realities that they're facing. The youth unemployment or underemployment is real for them. So they come out with skills they need to develop, but they cannot find the jobs that will help them gain the experience that they need to be able to lead on a global scale. Or they're with underemployment where they're taking on the jobs of three people, but they're not getting paid three separate salaries. So there's some challenges there with the more traditional jobs. And then the other option would be to start a business. But again, there's a lack of funding for startups. So they can't find jobs. They don't have enough funding to start a business. The outdated education system does not prepare them for the workforce. So they come out of school not necessarily ready with very little experience, and there's resistance to change, of course. So they're not getting support. They're not getting the mentorship that they need. They're just kind of thrown in a job that they're not too familiar with and not given the tools. So they're kind of in a situation where this is where I sometimes upset some people, but we've created this mess. We're expecting them to clean it for us, but we're not giving them the mops and buckets to do it. So this is where it needs to change. This is as youth leaders, educators, and any other form of mentorship. We need to be able to give them those tools to be able to move forward. So why innovation? Innovation and entrepreneurship, of course, but we're going to start with innovation. So before I even start on this, I want you to think, and again, I'm not sure if you're able to comment, but if not, that's okay. You could have that kind of conversation between all of you when you meet up. But what is innovation to you? And before you kind of start thinking about technology, it's not just about technology. So start thinking, what is innovation? What does that mean? It's another word that we toss around. Do we teach our youth about innovation? So I'll give you a minute to kind of think this over. What does that represent to you? And then I'll give you a couple of definitions to help out. I don't think the comments are open. So Uh, One of my favorite definition for, of course, it requires creativity, which is something I'm for, but one of my favorite definitions for innovation is creating new solutions for old problems. And I just like that definition because it really kind of gives you a clear picture of if we're always doing the same thing to fix the same problems and we're not getting results, that's the definition of insanity. So innovation, it really is to find new solutions, more innovative solutions, creative solutions to fix our old problems. But it's also innovation. This is the trap that we fall into when it comes to definitions is innovation is not just an idea. Innovation is making an idea happen. So when we think often about innovation, we're thinking visionaries, the people that are thinking ahead. They're 6, 7, 10 steps ahead of everybody with their vision of the future. But if it's only a vision, it's not going anywhere. If it's just an idea, it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. It's sitting on a shelf collecting dust. So an idea that is happening, we're now talking about somebody that is innovative. We're looking at a visionary in action. And I love that term. This is actually a colleague of mine who said it yesterday in a session that we had together. And I told them, I'm not going to take credit for it, but I'm using this for the presentation today. So a visionary in action, I think, is beautifully put. And it's a kind of a phrase that the youth will catch. They'll give them a good visual of what innovative means. So how can our future leader keep the nation competitive on a global scale? Because now it's not just making sure the country is running well, but now we're talking about the whole world. How do we make our country attractive to the rest of the world so that they want to do business with us and keep the economy running, right? So, of course, this is something that we're not as familiar with here, but mobile money revolution has been phenomenal. And there's a lot to be done there and there's a lot to look out for. So this is, again, a great innovation. This was a great creation for a need that the people had where you are underbanked or unbanked and you needed to be able to run a business. This is great. Now, the challenge that future leaders is in terms of regulation and security when it comes to mobile money is if we over-regulate it, then we're killing the innovation and it'll become too expensive for the consumers, right? And if we under-regulate it, then we are not protecting the users from fraud or other forms of abuses. So this is something that our future leaders need to be ready for. We need to get them ready for that. We need to start having these discussions and getting them creative with solutions that will benefit the people as much as the country. Digital agriculture is also another very important topic to address. I've seen digital agriculture in action and it's quite phenomenal because I did grow up on a farm where we had to do everything by hand. And so if you want to stay competitive on a global scale, you do counting things by hand or picking things, harvesting by hand can be quite the challenge again. So look into that and some investments to be done there to stay competitive. E-commerce, of course, now we're open to the world. The whole world is open to us in terms of businesses. It's not just running businesses within our community. We can open it worldwide and that can open up a whole new world of economic growth for us. So we have to think it's no longer just our little country or our little village. We're now talking the entire planet. So this is where the entrepreneurial side of things is a key to it. We have to look at it more on a business side of things than on a political side of things. And this is not a political presentation. I'm just giving you some key ideas to work with. But when we're looking at keeping a country to thriving, to grow economically, to be self-sufficient. This is basically what entrepreneurs need to do with their businesses. So entrepreneurs create jobs and they solve problems. This is what we need. in our all of our countries. So using an entrepreneurial leadership kind of reduces. I wrote here government jobs because this is the big thing here. If you want to be successful, you just get yourself a government job. But with government cuts, budget cuts, even the same with education. This is the world I'm in with the budget cuts. These jobs are eliminated. So what do you do then? Right? You can't really rely on traditional jobs because they get cut. You get overworked, understaffed. So there's some challenges there that our future leaders need to address. It creates new employment opportunities when you are in problem solving mode. The the jobs you are creating is for economic growth, is for the country to thrive. It's not just for creating policies uh, or making treaties. I mean, these are important as well, don't get me wrong, but if we're looking at growth, we need to create new employment opportunities. Again, to become self-sufficient, there's always benefits to trading with other countries. There's always benefits to keep everything on a global scale. But if your neighbors are starting to act up, you need to be able to hold yourself together until things smooth over. And then, of course, you want to keep your country attractive to the other countries. They want to do business with you. They want to import, export. They want to invest in your innovative ideas and in your projects. So this is basically why the entrepreneurial leadership is more realistic to today's world. So if you're looking, again, I'm a very visual person with the table at the bottom there. If you could show that to your youth as well, that helps them see the difference between traditional leadership that we've been seeing, where we focus on policies. Policies are there. We have a problem, and we're just going to build laws and policies around it so it doesn't spill over and affect our population. Whereas entrepreneurial leadership will be, why don't we just fix the problem so we don't have to create all these policies? Let's get rid of the problem. So that's kind of the mindset shift that takes place between traditional leadership and entrepreneurial leadership. Traditional leadership, of course, you got your top person that dictates what happens and then it trickles down. Whereas in an entrepreneurial side of things, it's a collaborative thing and it comes from the bottom. So if you are wanting to address agricultural issues, it's not the leader at the top that has an idea or their thoughts on what that would look like and then pass it down and implement it to the farmers. In an entrepreneurial setting, you would have the farmers from every corner of the country at the table telling you their realities, giving you some ideas for solutions. You bring that up to your cabinet or whichever structure that you have, because farmers are not lawmakers. So you do need to get that specialized knowledge. And then you bring it back to your farmers and say, okay, this is what we've come up with. Does this work for you? And the most important part is, what do you need from us to make this happen? So it's collaboration. It's not just do so because I said so. Traditional leadership have their agendas to get more votes. This is the fuel of politicians, is what can I put on my agenda to get more votes so I get voted in. Whereas entrepreneurial, if everyone wins, the business wins, the country wins. So it's a collaborative thing. We're going to create solutions that's beneficial for everybody. And if everybody benefits, then the whole nation benefits as well. I wanted to throw that in just because it's something that we don't give them enough credit for. I work with youth often. The new generations get a bad rap with the way that they are handling social interactions and the way that they are walking around. But there's some great innovators out there. And there's just a couple of them. There's Joshua and the all the work that he's doing in tech. The Farida, who does all of this software engineering, but she's also an advocate for disability rights. So these are great youths that are making an impact. They're making a difference in the world, and they're kind of not necessarily being as supported as they should. They're making it through. They're very resilient and motivated to do so. And there's quite a lot. So this is the question here that I ask everybody, not necessarily just for these two. Obviously, there are more, but who do you know in your community? Who do you know in your class? Who do you know in your church? Who do you know in your area, in the youth that are making a difference, that are making an impact? Um, and most importantly, what's your contribution to help them succeed for the good of the nation, right? It's not what how does that going to benefit me, but helping these young entrepreneurs and these young innovators is benefiting the entire nation. So what is our contribution to that? How can we help them? What can we put in place to make things easier for them so that they can take their place as future leaders? We need more people like that to be able to make it easier on everybody, right? And why is this so important more than ever? I did mention the reality that we're facing here on this side of the planet is um, over and over and over again, traditional leadership is not quite solving issues. We're spinning around in circles, but we're not actually getting there. So it is so important for the new leaders now to be entrepreneurial minded, to be adaptable, to be innovative, to create new or find new solutions for the old problems. Again, they're out there cleaning out our messes. So we need to be able to help them adjust to that. Um, Again, the era of politicians making decisions where they're not necessarily knowledgeable on the issues, that's fading. It's not working anymore. So politicians who don't know much about education for younger children that are making decisions that has a negative impact on education, that is not working anymore. And we see it in our school systems. We see it in the families, in the communities. It has an impact on everybody. So that has to move away. We need to get into the collaborative mindset of it. And we just need to start thinking beyond our municipality, beyond our province or state or parish or beyond our country. This is worldwide now. These new generations are working on a global scale. Their village is the entire planet. So we need to open up our mind to solutions that will benefit everybody. So this is why the shift needs to happen. When we were moving away, again, this is not a political presentation. I want to make this clear. The politicians are still important. We just need to change the way that things are run. And it's just the idea is that entrepreneurs solve problems and create jobs. And that's what we need in our countries. And that's why our leaders need to adapt that. They need to make that change of, I'm not just saying what I want to do, but I'm going to consult the right people and make the decisions, the right decisions, and provide the right resources and help that they need to make it work. So I'm kind of running through this rather quickly, but this is where I leave you with this question, where, of course, at the beginning, I mentioned that knowledge without action is a waste. So we're going to continue this. I'm going to encourage you to take this with you, and I'll give you a few minutes to reflect and think with the information I'm giving you as to what innovation actually means. What does leadership mean to you today? If you could solve one problem in your country today with an innovative idea, what would that be? So I want you to think about that. You don't need to give an answer right away, but think about it, reflect on it this evening, tomorrow. You can even start up a conversation with your colleagues, with your classes. What problem could we solve today with a new solution, right? Because that's what innovation is. How can we find a new solution to an old problem? And this is where I invite the youth, if there's any young adults out there that are listening, or even teenagers, you need to get involved. You can't just be passive. You need to take your place in this world. The older generations are going to step over you if you don't say anything. So you do need to take your place. You have a voice. You need to make your voice heard. So what will you do today to prepare yourself as a future leader? Right? Think about what innovation is. Think about what entrepreneurs do. So think about what knowledge do you need? What skills do you need? And who can you go to to find those resources. There are a lot of adults out there that will be able to help you. And we need to take that role as a mentor as well for the older generations. This is kind of what I'm going to leave you with as youth leaders, right? We need to encourage networking and collaboration where we can immerse our youth into that world of exchanging ideas with like-minded people working on the same goal and collaborating. That teaches them the right skills to be able to collaborate with other countries that may have different views on the same issue. Share mentorship opportunities. All right, we need to be able, I like to give the visual that if you're teaching a teenager to drive, but you're only having them sit in the passenger seat and you do the driving and show them how to drive, they're not going to know how to drive. So you have to do the same with leading. You need to be able to get them to take on the roles. Of course, you're assisting them, you're mentoring them along the way, and allow them to have a voice. They have great ideas. They're born innovators. They have new ideas to this new world that they're coming into. And so it's important to ask them what they do. And of course, I always leave with a quote: this is the best way to protect the future is to create it. So if we're really uncertain of the way that our world is going, then why don't we make sure that we have the right leaders to take over? And those are the leaders that will be taking care of us when we can no longer take care of our world. So this is what I am going to leave you with. It's a very broad, of course, I can go into so much more details to that, but it's just a kind of get your thought process going into how can I show up to make those changes so that we can keep up with the rest of the world and have an impact. We all have our voice and we have an impact on that. So I wanted to thank you for listening. You didn't get to say, you didn't get to comment, but I encourage you to have these conversations with your organizations, with your schools, with your churches to see what can we do to change that. So we're creating the right leaders for our future. I want to thank you very much for having me over again. And if you have any questions, I don't know if we can open it up for questions and see or just share ideas. I think it's a great thing as well.
Thank you very much. We are so much grateful to you for sharing these with us. Very educative, talking about the role of leadership, unemployment, and lack of funding, innovation, and the rest. Very important to our youth of the day, knowing that they are the foundation or the key or the pillars to tomorrow. And it is important for us to equip them with this kind of knowledge, knowing the direction in which the world is moving in, that very soon it will be difficult for the data that comes out every year with respect to graduates from universities to get job. And so if we have these challenges with us, what it means is that we have to be innovative in our own way. We have to be creative. And that has been the project of DDLF in 2023, where we are from Ghana, Africa. We were pushing that entrepreneurship be included in the curriculum, the national curriculum, because it has to be taught in school. Though we have some aspect of it being taught in school, emphasis are not laid on it, so that is not taken serious, and we don't know that you can finish school with those little knowledge that you have from senior high schools, colleges. You can begin to do something by yourself. So that is an addition, and I would say you have added flesh to that. And I believe that those of us on the call tonight, and there is a lot we've learned from this. I have only one question, and I'm thinking, brainstorming as to if that is the right question for you. But to our viewers, if you are here with us for the first time, this is the David Ddouglas weekly leadership series, and you are joining us here tonight, and we are sharing on a powerful topic that is harnessing the, oh, okay. I'm trying to pick it so that I don't make any mistake at all. So the topic is harnessing the, where am I?
There would be innovation.
Harnessing innovation and entrepreneurship in our youth for national growth. Harnessing innovation and entrepreneurship in our youth for national growth. Very important to all of us. So it is a question session, and if you have a question, perhaps you want to make some addition to the presentation tonight, you raise your hand, we give you the opportunity to go ahead with your question or contribution. However, I want to find out this with our experience in working with the youth for 4 years plus now that we have been consistent on the field and having this weekly series. This series ran consistently for 4 years plus now and counting. So I would say we have rich experience with our encounter with the youth when you have to interact with them regarding unemployment and others like that. You touch on all those areas, but my question is this. Yes, entrepreneurship has to do with you finding something to do by yourself. It could start with money, it might not. But in the areas where it has to do with money, most especially in our world, that individual is not having the money. What can you advise alternatively for that individual to do, that individual who has the knowledge or the wisdom but not having the money? How will that individual be able to push that idea forward since he is not having the financial capacity to be able to manage that?
That is a very good question because that is the reality that all entrepreneurs will
Hmm.
face. Uh, there's never enough money. And no matter how ahead you are, there's always seems to be a lack of funding. When you're starting off, we have this great big vision. We have the end product in mind, but we need to kind of take bite size of that. So if you're looking at it as you need to have that end goal, and
Hmm.
then just kind of reverse engineer it to how many little steps can I do when you're starting off. This is where the innovation really kicks in. Is if you don't have the funding, you're unable to get the funding, what can you start now with what you have? So again, this is where the sustainability is what can I use that I have already access to,
Hmm.
um, and take it just a little step further. That's the kind of the way. So instead of going with, the high tech computers, what can I get now secondhand to start off? Depending on where you are at is really just that. What can we do? Okay, this is our reality. The money isn't there yet. What can we start off with what we have now? So this is where the innovation, the creativity, the collaboration comes in. Networking is also very important. A lot of people are afraid to talk about their ideas because they don't want them to be stolen. And I completely understand that as an entrepreneur myself, as starting my business. When you have somebody steal your intellectual property, it can be kind of devastating because it's your baby. You're so proud of the work that you do. But you also have to understand that there's 8 billion people on this planet, so we can reach the right people. But networking, this is why it's so important that as youth leadership leaders, for lack of better words, we need to offer these opportunities for our youth to say, let's network with people that are kind of on the same path and let's brainstorm. Let's see how we could do it. Maybe somebody has a better idea or has lived a different experience and they can share that wisdom with you. Look at what people are in that field that are succeeding right now. Study. It doesn't have to be just in your and your immediate surrounding, but
mm,
worldwide.
mm,
What are people doing now, and how did they start off? Uh,
mm,
they will be great mentors to say, okay, like the great big guys like Apple and
mm,
Amazon, they all started in their garage or
mm.
in their basements. And so, in a little room somewhere. So look at how successful people are doing it now and how they started off. And that'll give you a lot of ideas how you can push forward. And as you get your name out there, stay consistent. It's going to be discouraging. You're going to feel like such a small fish in a really big ocean, but stay consistent. People will notice you. After a while, people will start noticing you, and you'll be surprised how people will come and actually offer you help and offer you more resources. So it starts with your creativity. How can I start it with what I have now, and how can I push forward?
Okay. Thank you very much. I have a knife right on my throat. I am going to attend to it later. There is a question in the question box. Okay, so well, I know you are into this youth development. You are actually into child development, right? Good, which develop to become youth. And I know you are privileged to some opportunities. And this, I'm putting this because, we are in a third world country. And so sometimes it is difficult for our youth to have certain opportunities. What we are doing as an organization, DDLF, for that reason, is to explore opportunities for the youth. And so, with any contact we have, we try to find out uh, in the Western where you are, there are more opportunities and more opportunities open to youths, in our part of the world. But some of them are not privy to it because there is nobody to open those opportunities for them, and there is nobody to open their mind or lead them to those opportunities. With us today, we have some number of youth and students here with us who are listening to you, eager, interested in venturing into, entrepreneurship, being innovative and creative for that reason. What opportunities are there with where you are that you can speak about that, irrespective of where you are, where I am right now as a student from Africa? This is what I can advise you that you do. These are some of the opportunities that we have here with us, which I think that if possible, you can apply for.
I had problems with my audio button here. Uh, that is such a multifaceted question. There's quite a bit. And I've worked in college, I was a college professor for a few years. Right now, it's changing. The answer I would have given you 2 years ago would be completely different from what I'm going to give you today. One of the first thing is, of course, there's always the issues of the visas. So getting the information that you need as to what kind of papers you need or what kind of permission you need. In Canada, if you look at the actual Canadian government website, which is I can send it to you later, David. I forget.
Right.
There's a GC somewhere. I just don't know where before the .ca, but the Canadian government website does have information on foreign student opportunities. There's also foreign student exchange programs looking at which college or universities will be have programs in place already. So now you don't have to worry about housing. Once you come down there, they will also prepare you for the culture shock and the winter shock. These are all things that you need to take into consideration when you're an entirely different planet with this winter, this snow desert here. So the one thing to start off with is what are you able to do? You don't want to be doing all this work and then find out you're not allowed to, you're not able to because you're missing some kind of paper. There are some organizations in Canada as well that will welcome exchange students, foreign students. Uh, so you can do some search, and I'll do the search and send it to you, David, so that it can save people the time to actually look it up and get lost in the
Okay.
go down the rabbit hole of government policies. But there's
Perfect.
some colleges here mostly. The only challenge, and I'll be upfront with you, a lot of the times when they offer programs for foreign students or exchange students, is they want to uh, whatever field that they are under staffed, that is what they're going to push. So I work in the early childhood education system, and we had a shortage of educators and teachers for so long. So for anybody coming into Canada to study, they were pushing, go into education, go into daycare services. So you might not look and see what opportunities that you have. There are also some companies,
Mm,
independent companies, private companies that will open it up to
mm.
foreign students as well. So there's a lot to, but do the research first to see where is the best area for you. A lot of people go for the main big cities, but sometimes it's the smaller cities that need that are welcoming, the foreign students for more. So you could get more there. If you're looking into engineering, there's some parts of the country here that are big in engineering. So I would say go in that area of the country to so that you're immersed in it. You can actually get apprenticeships program that are funded, partially funded as well. So I'll send you as much information as I can, but that's changing. Our colleges right now are cutting down on some of the programs. I just want to make sure I'm current with what's available out there for your youth.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Alf, can you please unmute yourself?
Good evening. This is Alf. Video? No, I don't have video. Okay. Thank you very much, Danielle. Oh, I do have video. Thank you very much, Danielle, for your excellent presentation. David tends to get people really good at what they do, and so thank you. Thank you for your time and your effort in trying to relay, especially this concept of entrepreneurship and education for leaders, because I totally agree with you in what you say, and in how you put it. The other thing though is what I mean. It's a global stage, so we now have a global village. Um, we can sit. I mean, you're sitting in Canada, I'm sitting in Germany, David's sitting in Ghana. I mean, we're literally all over the place. Anna is, I think, in Norway. I mean, we're literally converged. This couldn't have happened 10, 15 years ago. So we're in now in a situation where your southern neighbors are, let's put it this way, could behave better. But yeah, that's a matter of opinion, shall we say. Um, but the point being, in entrepreneurship in Africa, there is so much to do. As I've put it before, also on this platform, for instance, I mean, you're talking about education in children and the youth growing up, and I put it into, say, farming and entrepreneurship in farming. And again, one of the problems is, still it's the theft of ideas, especially as an entrepreneur. You think, wow, this is great. I've seen my ideas stolen and used and abused. Ghana card, for instance, is one of them, which was diverted from the original purpose to collecting taxes from the people, which is fine. It's not, is neither here nor there. But I didn't have so much invested in it. It was an idea I had, which I shared on certain platforms, and it was taken up. Fine, thank you very much. But then I was left in the dark, and then suddenly it was something else. So in terms of that, then I've also put ideas out there because I personally believe that um, with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, there are certain issues that are facing the planet. You mentioned that we're 8 billion, going over 8 billion by 2030, 2040, 2050. We're going to be approaching 9 billion. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, in Africa, we have about 60% of the arable land on the planet, and food security is going to be a problem. Uh, and whereas we are running away to the West, we have an issue of, okay, so who's going to come back and do our farming? Who's going to join up the dots and make sure that we have food security and water security, food security for the future, for the 8 billion people on the planet? I mean, Africa is only 1.4 billion people, the whole of the 56 countries. China is 1.4, India is 1.4, maybe plus, overtaken China. The States is, well, 300 million, something like that. Canada is even smaller and has more snow and ice than anybody else on the planet. So everybody needs food. Yeah, I mean, you can be as rich as you want, but you got to eat. And so my personal opinion is that we should start developing our leadership skills towards all that we do, but agricultural based. Because if we need to, we will have to feed the planet. Otherwise, people will come and take our land and then feed the planet, and you will be buying your own food. And this is one of the reasons why things like GMOs are not my go-to in terms of thoughts, is because you know, once, twice, three times, and you don't get anything back on your GMO. You have to go and buy the crop, the what you call it, from whoever is selling it, as opposed to the traditional option of raising it. So yes, we can get more money faster with greater productivity and stuff like that from the genetically modified crops, but a couple of 3 years down the line, you're going to have to go hand in cap with some money to buy the food that you need to eat well, the food that you need to grow in order to eat. So again, like you say, entrepreneurship, you have to think down the line. And the other thing I was going to say in terms of answering David's question is, nominally, some of us, what we do is break down our projects into bite sizes, as you said, into bite sizes, and we have certain milestones. And if you want funding, you can sell the idea, the concept, the overall concept. And if you want funding, you can ask for bits, so that once you say, okay, this is the project plan. For those who do engineering and various other things, you know that you've got a project plan. This is what you're going to do. This is what needs to be done first. This is what needs to be done second. This is on the critical path. If this doesn't get done, the project's not going to get done. So then you sell the critical path, and you sell the concept of how what the end goal is. And once you've done that, you can sell the concept. And if you're convincing enough, you will get the funding. But you need to put your effort in first. You just can't have an idea and say, oh, I want to do this. Yeah. Have you thought of what needs to be done this? Because, I mean, when you come to me and you ask me that I want to do this, I want to, yeah, and I ask you questions, trust me, you are not going to stand, because you haven't thought of what have you got? I mean, some of the times you go to these investors and they say, okay, so how much are you investing in it? Oh, I haven't got anything. Okay, bye. You have to put, whether it's time, effort, concept, sell the concept and say, hey, Dragon's Den and various things like that are areas where people have got concepts of what they want to sell. And Africa, this is something that we have to start doing. We have to have these entrepreneurial thoughts, see how we would actually implement those. Go to places where something similar or vaguely related has been done. Now, I'm not only giving Daniel feedback. She was asking about responses, and I'm trying to also add some more to it, because it's not just sitting down. Oh, it would be great if I started a tomato farm. Oh, okay. Everybody grows tomatoes, and what happens? Yeah, they get sold by the roadside. Half of them get rotten, if not more. They get spoiled in the transportation routes. Nobody buys them, and they basically get thrown away. So what happens? Well, the cost of tomatoes on the market that you buy, the price goes up because there's a lot of wastage. Now, what happens if you change that plan and say, okay, we want to do a tomato canning farm, plant, right? So we will grow the tomatoes and supply the local factory, right, as well as supply the local. So things like that. You think outside the box, right? The entrepreneurship that you're thinking, this is the problem. This is an existing problem. We've had it for years. How do we solve it? Put the factory there. Put the buyer there. Put the this there. Put the that there. Once you've done that, it's okay. Join it all up. I've got the tomatoes. I'll supply. There's a factory here. Get some other guys in the area. We will do this. We'll get the farmers and all that kind of stuff. So just to add to your to enhance your presentation, thank you for it. Thank you. It's actually worth it. And just to add, just to say, look, it's simpler than we think. But we say money is not the goal. How to finance it is not the goal. To have the end-to-end concept and joined up ideas is what we need. And once we have that, somebody says, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea," and they will help you walk through it. They'll help you. They'll help you walk through it. Sorry, let me just reduce the volume on this other concept. Right? They'll help you walk through it because they have been through not dissimilar stuff before. So thank you very much for your sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much for bringing the entrepreneurship. Thank you, David, for your questions and bringing these people together around the world. It's absolutely brilliant, and we're here to help where we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alf. So that is Mr. Alf Dwamekpo from Germany speaking to us of how he's talking about preservation and how you can incubate the idea.
What I would like to add, because I do appreciate Alf, everything that you said, it kind of proves the point that even David was saying, is that's why it's so important to have entrepreneurship taught in school, to get the children to think ahead, not just going with, we're hungry, we need to eat, but how can we make this a global thing so that we can actually thrive on this. So it's so important to have that mindset, and then just to make it look pretty so that people will want to invest in it. So it's very important, and I just appreciate what you shared, Alf. It was great.
Thank you very much. So I'll go to the US to pick Rema. Rema, you raise your hand at a point. I've seen it. Can you please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question? Rema, I hope you can hear me. Okay. So can you please unmute yourself? iPhone.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think that was a very excellent presentation. I'm Dr. Powell. I'm having some issues with my phone at this moment. However, I'm in full agreement with what went on before with the two speakers. I wanted to add something to what was just said in relation to the entrepreneurship and how we merge it into long-term sustainable pathways for young people. I want to ask our speaker, because I find that innovation and entrepreneurship needs partnership. They can't coexist without partnership. They can't strive on their own. And as we teach entrepreneurship in schools, and as we ignite thoughts and diversity and solutions to the problems that are emerging that are more complex and different than what we are accustomed to. As we look at digital farming, for example, the preservation of land, the ownership of what now becomes unique to us, the generic and genetic forms of how we grow food and so on. What are the collaborations that you are saying, you are thinking, or would be pertinent to avoid? And which of those partnerships are we to embrace globally so that there is a mutual engagement and exchange of the goods and services that are supplied through innovation and creativity?
Right, that's a great question. And again, it depends on the situation every country faces. The same thing. We're similar here in Canada, where we're lower population because there's only a certain level where we can live on the land. And it's very hard to farm when the ground is frozen 9 months out of the year. So we're facing these issues as well. And it doesn't have to be pertaining to agriculture. I mean, that is a very current issue right now globally. But this is where, when we're talking about partnership, it is very important. And this is why we need to change our mindset to problem solving as opposed to policy making, because through problem solving is done through networking. So it's to create these opportunities for people who are dealing with the same situations, the same realities, to come together and brainstorm. Now, of course, when we're not used to that, or it just becomes kind of a debate rather than a sharing of ideas and solutions. But with the right moderation, with the right facilitators, we can change that slowly. And that's why it's so important to teach our youth that, so that they can start off with the right mindset to say, there are no wrong answers here. We just need to find our solution, and that will benefit everybody. It's not somebody profiting from everybody else. So we are looking at a global setting. Before we can take it internationally, we need to make sure that nationally we are solid enough so that we are not eaten alive when we do take it internationally. So my suggestion is, let's have a realistic look, not sugarcoating it, of our challenges now. And if we're talking about agriculture, let's have our farmers sit together and tell us what the realities are, and not just us sitting in an office thinking that that's the problem, right? So we need to have these conversations, start small so that you don't create conflict, but small, and then just kind of expand slowly and have people that kind of represent every area, and then take it from there, and get creative with how can we take it before we take it internationally. Let's make sure we're solid so that we can show the other nations that we have found the solution. People are not going to invest unless they can see the results almost right away. So if you can get an area, a cluster somewhere with results and data to back it up, then you're able to expand a little bit more. And it's the same with education. If you have an issue with like we're having right now here with colleges shutting down their programs, how are we supposed to get our entrepreneurs if all the business diplomas are being shut down? So it's again, getting the educators, the ones that are in the trenches, the ones that are on the floor, doing the work in the fields, doing the work, and take it from there. It could be livestock. It doesn't have to just be agriculture, but we have some areas here, little towns, that are self-sufficient. We have restaurants that are starting to grow their own produce on this roof of their building, and then they have their chickens in the parking lot, and they're working with local farmers to get the meat that they. So slowly but surely, there's people that are getting more and more creative with that, where there's a local vineyard somewhere. They're getting the wine from the local vineyard to bring to the restaurant. So there's that partnership within the community. That's where it'll start. And then once you see how it can happen harmoniously, and that everybody sees the benefit of helping, we're building each other up. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's not, I want to sit at the top by myself, but if I bring everybody up with me, we're going to be even stronger. So I'm more successful. So building everybody up, I have my part to play. But what does that mean? We have this issue. I'll give you an example, very current for us right now with tariffs with our neighbors from the South imposing 25% tax on what we bring from them. So that our governments had to sit down and say, well, we have all of this here. So let's just stay here. You know, we don't need to get our tomatoes from there. We have our own tomatoes. So it's to start having to look at that and say, how can we make it work for everybody? But I would suggest starting small before we think internationally. Let's make sure that we can stand together and support each other locally, and then provincially, or we have provinces here, so it would be provincial and then national, and then take it out international, so that you can show that it is possible to do it. People need to see it before they will invest in it.
People need to see it before they will invest in it. It's getting interesting anyway. Wow. So Godfred, I saw you. You raised your hand. Yusuf, I'll come to you. Godfred, are you no more interested in your question? Godfred, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Yusuf. Okay, Godfred, you are back. Yes. Can you go ahead, unmute yourself and go ahead with your question?
Okay, Doug, thank you so much for the opportunity. And then my question is, I wanted to ask a question, yes, that's how can we leverage technology to provide mentorship and support? So
I think Godfred is.
I don't know whether I'm clear.
No, you're having a tech challenge, so we hardly can hear
Hello?
you. Wait, yeah, can you ask your question again?
Please, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I was asking, how can we leverage technology to provide mentorship and support to young entrepreneurs in the rural areas?
That is an excellent question. I love that question, because that is what the challenge is we're always, when we're in the main cities, everything is fine. You know, we have our banks, we have internet, we have, and again, I'm not very familiar with your realities. So I'm going to have to keep it vague, and hopefully you'll be able to fill in the gaps there. But I think technology-wise, I mean, I've shown one of the great young entrepreneurs there, Joshua, who has developed some great innovative ways of getting technology out there. I would start with, again, depending on your realities, is majority of the time people have a cell phone. So how can you support that through a cell phone? I mean, mobile money was a great example of that. And, you know, let's get it through that. But if you can, and the mentorship being, if it can be done virtually, and if people, not everybody, again, depends on how rural we're talking. If it's just a few people that have a phone, then how can we, or a computer, can we make it a community thing where we meet in a common place like a church or a community center or a school, and broadcast these types of events where they can have access to mentorship, where we can have roundtable discussions, where we can, so again, we don't need to have it to invest in computers for everybody out in the rural areas, but if we can find at least one computer, we can make it work. And again, that's the partnership part of it. And working with what we have, is, even if we can't have a working camera, instead of video, we could do audio and start from there. You could have recordings, YouTube channels or things like that where people can actually just listen recordings instead of being live if the internet or Wi-Fi isn't working. Those are some of the options. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question properly because I don't know the realities of what you're facing in the rural settings. I know for us it can be challenging, especially if you're up in the mountains. Signals are not always there, but it's work with what you have. So if you have at least a handful of people who have computers, you could start mentorship there or bring somebody forward, select a few members in the communities who could be the mentors, give them the proper tools and the mindset on how to be able to become the mentors for that area. And that's how you kind of grow the community outwards. So those are some options. If without technology, you could do it in person by having strategically having people around that can mentor the youth or the youth leaders also need some mentoring and some help to be able to get it out that way. So I hope, Godfred, that helped, not knowing exactly all of the bolts and nuts of how the challenges that you're facing with that.
Thank you very much. Yusuf, can you please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question?
Thank you very much, David. You have been doing a very good job. Actually, for the past 2 weeks or so, I have been following to see if there will be any maybe facilitator, but unfortunately, maybe there wasn't. So I still want to use this medium to still appreciate your mentorship, at least for what you have been doing so far. At least we have been learning, and the facilitators you have been bringing, their teachings have been impactful on us. So I want to commend Daniel and the other speakers for their contributions on entrepreneurship. I want us to narrow down this our thinking to Africa. Africa is really blessed, and this issue of entrepreneurship, if Africans can leverage on their population, I think we can go a long way, because the opportunities are just they are almost everywhere. I heard from the speaker, he was speaking about the issue of, tomatoes getting spoiled in the process of transportation or even at the point of harvest. So these are areas that I think we can leverage and we can make something out of it. I want to say here that I want to share one experience. There is one tomato farm that when the farmers harvest, they hardly get buyers. So I now find an opportunity. I order a dehydrator from China. So the dehydrator, they bought it. So these farmers, they will even sell at any amount so that at least they cannot afford to lose some of their investment. So the dehydrator I bought, it helps a lot. I dry some of those tomatoes, and few weeks from there, you now discover that the tomatoes are also very high. You can't even find it in the market. So those dried dehydrators now can be now brought back to the market, and at least one can make something out of it. So this is my little contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. Is this engineer Yusuf? Is this engineer?
Yes, engineer Yusuf Ibi from Nigeria.
My brother. Thank you very much. Your name changed over here, so I was wondering.
Okay, I've sent a direct question to you, so maybe you can put it to the floor. The other question I sent direct to your personal message.
Yes, you put a question here. So that is a question I was saying. I have knife directly on my throat.
Yes.
So your question is, as a member of the DLF, how can we initiate a business that can generate income for members of the DLF? A very good question, and that is the knife I have on my throat, and I have to make sure that I work on this. And together with our networks across the globe, if you listen to me very well, I think I posed a question to our speaker tonight. That is just to get some opportunities that we can leverage on to empower our youth. And I believe that collectively, as we are a member of DDLF on this platform, every week we all connect here, we keep building the network and the community. We're getting the right people who has interest of making investment in our youth. And that is what we stand for. That is what we stand for. At the end of it, I'm going to introduce you to something important, which we are planning for the month of July. And I have a couple of people here on the line to talk about it. So, Yusuf, you want to ask question again? Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, basically, my question here is to Daniel. I want to narrow my case study to Nigeria. So the issue of mobile money, we have more than 100 million Nigerians that are unbanked. So how can we now utilize that problem? How can we now bring in something, maybe an innovation, a problem, and at the same time we're making something out of it? Yeah, that's my question.
That is a good question.
Oh, okay, no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Again, not knowing too much, mobile money is not, we have something similar, but it still requires a bank account. So it's not the same as what you have in Africa. My recommendation to you would be, do not try to reinvent the wheel. Have a look at I know there's M-Pesa, Orange Money, there's different organizations or companies already who have the software in place for it. So do the research then to see how was it started? How did it implement? Or even just see if you can collaborate with them. Some of those, there are a few more companies, and make sure that it is safe, because there's unbanking is an issue in many, many countries. So you got to make sure that people are educated on how to keep their money safe so that they're not victim of fraud or other abuses or, identity theft. So my recommendation, not knowing much about it, is kind of look at what's out there already and take the best parts that will be more realistic for you in Nigeria and work with that. And look at how they got funded, have a look at who's funding them right now. And that'll give you save you a lot of time in your research.
Thank you very much. So we are grateful for everybody joining us tonight. We are 22 minutes into our time, and it is not our desire to keep you here for extra 30 minutes, but the questions, and it's getting interesting. If I have to open the platform, I know people still have questions that they want to ask. Well, so this is where we will draw the curtains on the question section for tonight. But it interests me that we're talking about agric tonight. It's very, very interesting. And I know we have a lot of young guys here who are interested in that area. You see, from Nigeria, I know you have interest. Now, what am I saying? We have an event coming up in July, from 29th July to 6th of July. And it is called Agri-Tour Art Festival and Global Leadership Award. Agri-Tour Art Festival and Global Leadership Award. And so what these events seek to do is to bring investors, the global leaders in agric, to help us connect with funding and with technology, just as we're talking about this evening. So this is a program that I think all of us will endeavor to participate in. But I have a brother here on the line who is part of the planning, and so he's going to throw more light on it. First of all, Princess Raymond, can you please unmute yourself and tell us more about this event as you connect with us on the part of creativity?
Sure. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So basically, as I stand on the threshold of something greater than cinema, my movie Miracles, the first part is Believe It, Miracles Still Happen. And the second part, Miracle 2.0, that will be shot majorly in the United States of America, some in India, and some now in Ghana. It's more than just a film. It's a movement, actually, a bridge between worlds. A, it's like a testament to the boundless power of love, healing, peace, and unity, which I am promoting for the past 35 plus years of my service in the field of art. So now, in a world that's too often divided by borders, beliefs, and misunderstanding, my film is actually very daring to ask, what if we saw beyond the differences? What if we embraced this miracle within each of us? So that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And I'm so looking forward to our to being in Ghana on the 28th of July and taking this mission forward. Anybody has any questions, they can ask me. But basically, my movie Miracle 2.0, it's a journey, a one that reveals the power of human connection, the beauty of acceptance, and the extraordinary transformation that happens when we open our heart. It's a film that reminds us that love is not bound by language. It's spoken through kindness, through sacrifice, through the courage to understand one another. And healing is just not a destination, it's a path we walk together, mending wounds with compassion and hope. Peace is not a dream, it's a choice, a decision to uplift rather than divide, to listen rather than judge. And unity is our greatest strength. That is, I truly think that unity is our greatest strength. It is a force that builds bridges where walls are there and that turns strangers into family, that transforms a simple story into a global movement. And I feel we are myself. I'm so sorry, my dog is in the background. Myself, David, all the world leaders that are going to be there on July 28th, reaching Ghana, and we are going to be together for 10 days, and that amazing leadership gala. We're going to make it very, very powerful, and it's going to be a global movement.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be a global movement, and you have to be part of this. I will be walking you through the itineraries and which is the calendar for this event, and it is interesting event, and you can afford to miss this. I have also here with us our co-partner or co-organizer from the USA, Charles Femwick. Brother Charles, can you also unmute yourself? Tell us more about this event and how the US is taking part to the part in this event. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, and thank you the others that's on board, and thank you, Rima. I had the pleasure of meeting Rima probably about 2 months now, and it's been phenomenal since we've met. She's an extraordinary woman with a beautiful spirit, and to me, that's what it takes for us to unite together, unite the spirit with like-spirited, like-minded, who's visionary, want to see a change in the world, not just one particular area, geographical area. But we're excited. I went to Rima's movie premiere last Saturday before last, and it was phenomenal just to see everybody pulling together and different ethnic groups pulling together, and that's what it takes. And I'm excited. In July we doing the festival, the art festival in Ghana. So we're excited about that, and we will be showing the movie premiere of Rima's movie. Way to go, Rima! Way to go! So it's going to take a collective effort for all of us to pull together in unity and harmony and peace. And just to kind of add on to about the children, a lot of education, a lot of things start from home first. We know that some areas are impoverished, some areas, sometimes certain countries, you have to leave your country to try to make a living outside of your country. To me, it doesn't make sense, but that's the way that I think. I had the pleasure of living in Hong Kong and China and performing there for 10 years. I'm in the performing arts. But it's going to take unity and love among us to pull things together. And with movie and music is two elements, major elements that we can utilize to bring people together. Music has a universal language. Movies can be universal as well. So we all excited. Come on, join us in July. And if you can, in April, in India with Rima. Rima, you doing your music, right? You doing a music release? Or maybe she can't hear me. But anyway, thank you all for the time. Thank you for the effort. And we're going to continue to move forward. We're going to continue to pull together. Thank you, David. And the rest of those that's on the panel. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, my brother, and thank you, Rema. So, just as Brother Charles is saying, in April we will be in India to support Rema for her music. And so, Rema is a Hollywood star who is a movie producer. And so, she's been working with Hollywood for a very long time, recognized, well known. And so she blend the American movie with the Indian movie and doing very well. So I will be talking about the calendar for this particular event, but the agri tour is to it's a farm tour where we bring farmers together from the rural areas and then engage them in new technologies that they can adopt, just like we're discussing on this platform tonight. So it was as if we have planned this. So yes, the new technologies they can adopt to improve upon their farming, and also educating them on how they can take their farming to the global stage, finding market for their product, and getting funding for their farming. So we bringing together the world leaders to this event, and the investors, people who are interested in investing into farming, we bringing them together to help on this. And there is an interesting aspect to this. There is a core aspect to it. So we have here, oh, I thought yeah, so just to run you through the itinerary so that you know, and we are engaging everybody, both national and international, to be part of this. So just as Sister Rema has said, or the Princess Rema said, on the 29th of July, we will be premiering her latest movie that she premiered, that was last Saturday in the USA, which recognized, global attendance, and the same thing they're doing in India. So on the 29th, we are bringing the same spirit to Ghana, and this will be premiering at the Silverbird Cinema at the Accra Mall. And so we're inviting all of you to be part of that. So that is on the 29th, and on the 30th, we have the Agri Tour and the Art Festival. So on the 31st also is the Agri Tour and the Art Festival. And on the 1st, which is Friday, is the Global Leadership Award. And this award is recognizing great men and women. So for the first time, that will be having Muhammad Ali's wife coming to Ghana, and it is because of this event. And she will be joining us here in Ghana for this particular event. And so on the 2nd, which is Saturday, we will be doing internal tour where we visiting some tourist sites here in Ghana, the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Center. And so we inviting you to be part of that. And on Sunday, we having networking and refreshment at the Labadi Beach. We have a well thought plan program laid down for this event. And so on Sunday, we'll gather at the Labadi Beach to have some refreshment. And on Monday, we will hit the route to Cape Coast, where we take our fellow brothers coming from the United States to the Cape Coast Castle and Kakum Park, and then move from there to Kumasi, where we will go to the Manshia Palace. And on that day in the morning, we will pay homage to the Ashanti Hene at his palace. And in the evening, we will still premiere the Believe It, Miracle Still Happen, which is produced by Princess Rema at the the City Mall in Kumasi. And the following day is where we will have some city tour. And then the following day, we are back in Accra and we can see our brothers off on the 8th. So this is the calendar for the event. We'll be breaking it down more as we move forward. So we inviting you, make time. Let us spread the good news. Tell people about this event. It's going to be a great event. We are expecting lot people who will be part of this. We'll be expecting more people globally to be part of this. Some of them I'll be unfolding them. I don't, as we move forward, I just don't want to mention certain names now, but they are there and it's going to be great event. So we invite you to be part of this and God will richly bless you. So next week, we are gathering here again for another wonderful session. So next week, we will have a speaker from Nigeria, His Excellency Ambassador Professor Tunji, who is the Global Vice President for United World Congress, diplomat, who will be speaking on the topic, how to become relevant in the 21st century as a youth. How to become relevant. So he's going to give us the guidelines of how you can become relevant in this 21st century as you. Mind you, today we are talking about job creation, innovations, and stuff like that. The competition is high. But how can you merge out? How can you merge as a winner from this 21st century regarding the challenges and the things that we go through as youth? So he is going to take us through that next week, and you want to be part of that. So on this note, we want to thank everybody who has made time to be with us today. It has been a wonderful session. We want to be grateful to our speaker. We are grateful to you. Grateful to you, Anna Jujuvi from Finland. We know what time it is, but you always join us. Grateful to you, Alf from Germany. Grateful to you, Sister Ramatu. Sister Ramatu, I'm still looking for your number so I can reach you personally. If you don't mind, you can send it to me via WhatsApp or via Messenger. I know you have my number, you have my WhatsApp number, so please kindly reach out to me. So we are grateful to everybody, grateful to you, Sister Rema, grateful to you, Dr. Marcia from the USA. We are grateful to you for your presence and all the people who joined us in this session. We thank you so much for your time. We're inviting you to be part of next week's session, and God will richly bless you. So it is on this note, we draw in the curtains of tonight's session, and we say thank you all for your time. Have a lovely week.